Greetings and welcome to what is Sakura Dungeon. Now, if the artwork and the name sound oddly familiar, it's because it's by the same studio that did Sakura Spirits, Sakura Fantasy, Sakura Clicker. Basically, their signature art style with very buxom women in very little clothing and some very paper thin story. However, this game actually surprised me a little bit because the gameplay is actually very solid. Now, it is a dungeon crawler in first-person mode, waking back all the way back to the olden days, for games such as Lightning Warrior Ready and Dungeons of Dragmore, I believe it's called, that came out relatively recently. But anyway, so if you believe me in that the gameplay in terms of the battle mechanics are actually interesting enough, feel free to keep watching. If not, you can close it, no problem there. So, without further ado, hold on first. Okay, so if you are not that interested in the nudity that is in the game, especially in the Indiegogo version, you want to turn battle inserts off. And I'll explain more of that once we get into the battle. However, in the Steam version, there probably will not be any nudity. I don't think they would allow it. But Steam has been changing a lot lately, so no idea there. So anyway, continuing the file, it is a very simple game, so there is very little requirements. So, what is the main point of the game? The main point of the game is to basically retake the dungeon because, give me a second, if you can jump, you are Yomi. You used to be the dungeon lord of the dungeon that you are currently in. And oddly, what happened is, no, hold on. Seri, which is the heroine of the game, quote unquote, came by into the prison that you were stuck in and accidentally freed you. Well, freed you with the intent of defeating you, however, you were way too strong for her. And in rather predictable fashion, you put a small spell on her that makes her servant. However, everything is not as it seems because you actually ask her help to to clean out the dungeon that is no longer yours, that's been taken over by somebody else. And so she reluctantly accepts and the game begins. So what is the point of the game? Well, obviously the point of the game is to free up the dungeon. However, you also go around the dungeon capturing all the monster girls. Well, you can only capture one of each type, because according to the character, she doesn't need more of one than each type. So as you can see, the artwork is very Sakura Spirits / fantasy-ish. All the girls could technically be the same girl with a different wig, quote unquote. But that is basically the meat of the game. Hold on, yep. Now, you can see here that it actually looks like a very competent RPG screen, and it is. If I go over every single stat, you can see how every stat affects the game. Every monster girl and yourself have very special, let's call them skills for easy. All the battle actual actions you can do cost ability power. They have very specific effects. So without further, now that all this is out of the way, let's get into the game. Let's go into the dungeon and show you the battle mechanics. Let's see, I haven't played it too much, it's been 2 or 3 hours at most. So anyway, so this is what I mean by a first-person dungeon crawler. This is very similar to Lightning Warrior Ready and Dungeons of Dragmore? Whatever. So anyway, you're going to be walking around and doing stuff like this all the time. And here we go, a battle. Now, as you can see, you can have only 3 girls in the front row down here in the front row, obviously. Now, if I wanted to, say, change the girl for whatever reason, if by pressing R, I can have her switch out with one of the girls in the back row. However, right now I'm not going to do it because she doesn't need to. So, as you can see, every single ability here costs action points, which you gather at the beginning of the turn. Obviously, you start with some of them at the beginning of the fight based on your agility. And every action you do has a certain cost and everything else. Now, the interesting part about the game is that there is no actual healings, at least I've seen so far, mechanics within the game. If you take damage, that is the damage you're going to have when you exit the battle. But I'll get that once we end the battle. So, right now, Slime Girl is very resistant to physical, as we know, because if we go over here and we go over Slime Girl, we already have one, and we know that she receives 25% less damage from physical. However, that isn't too bad for us because we do a very decent amount of damage. As you can see, she resisted. Now, Cat Girl here can do an elemental attack, so that would do maximum damage. And she is resistant to venom by 50%, so we're not going to bother. So we're just going to hit her normally. Now, the main fan service mechanic of the game is that whenever you score a critical, or a critical gets scored on you or any of your girls, their clothes start falling off. Now, with the first critical, only half of it comes off, and with the second critical, the entire clothes comes off. Now, I have that turned off currently because I don't want this video to get flagged on YouTube. But anyway, as that happens, your CP down here, concentration points, are going to go down when you take a critical. If it reaches 0, you're going to reach a panic state, and that's going to make it so that you recover less AP and you take more damage. Now, if your concentration points reach all the way up to 10, then you go into what is called flow, and you get more AP, and I think you do a little bit more damage. Now, right now, we could defeat her because we already have a slime girl and we can only capture one of each girl. But let's guard for the moment. Now, as you can see, Siri right now is the only girl I have that has the capture ability. Now, you need to finish off a girl using this ability in order to take them to your prison cell back in town. Talk to them. You get some interesting dialogue for every girl, which is interesting. Every girl so far is unique and has a different personality, which is welcome. So anyway, because we could capture her, but we would gain nothing from it, so let's just finish her off with another slash. Now that right there was the insert. She looked identical to her regular view because I turned the inserts off. If I hadn't, part of her slime covering would have been gone, and that would have been that. So, like I said, because there are no actual healing mechanics in the game, we don't have any way to heal up Slime Girl. However, if we take one step, all of a sudden we're back at 49. So for every step you take, you will heal, every single one of your girls will heal 1 HP. So surviving the battle is the most important part. And the other good part is that if someone in the front row has too much damage and you're, let's say, afraid of running into an encounter or need to do a boss, you can easily switch him out and have another girl take her place. And once the battle starts and she is a little bit more healed up, you can have her join back in. Now, the main attack focus of the computer, as in the monsters will focus on whoever has the least amount of action points in their bar. Or at least that's what the computer told me. I'm not sure if that's true, but that is the main mechanic of the game in terms of events. So if, let's say, Siri suddenly receives a couple criticals and her AP is almost down to the floor and she has very little concentration points or 0, as soon as her turn comes up, I would replace her with somewhere in the back just so she can get some AP back and recover a little bit. Now that right there is basically the entire combat mechanics. Now the map, you start off with one square freed up and you go exploring the map, and it can be a little annoying, but right now, let's go through this door. We have unlocked it. Oh. Let's see. I do not like pointless distractions, but at least it wasn't as bad as the last time I had to fetch a key. Oh, we're getting some story. Someone dropped the key into a giant crevice. Then we had to look for it, wasting hours of our time. Okay. A giant crevice. I would not like having a giant crevice in this dungeon, and neither would I. Why not just break the door down in that case? It wouldn't regenerate like this one, right? Because it was made out of some ancient metal which proved to be nearly invulnerable. Well, that was interesting. Maybe you weren't trying hard enough to break it. So yeah, Boar Girl loves breaking stuff. Slime Girl, because she's slime, she could just go through the cracks, and she is very blunt with her personality. She says exactly what she thinks. I wonder what it is. And Kako is extremely how you would imagine a cat girl to be. She's very bubbly. She is extremely cattish. Let's just leave it at that. Especially locked doors. Oh yeah, she is looking at us like this because we locked her in the cell before we could recruit her. So yeah. Some harrowing experiences. I can tell you about them in town. For now, let's not keep our enemies waiting. Let's do a little quick save here just in case we bump into a combat. Now let's see, dungeon quality high, arrows battle speed, while inserts, interesting. Let's, there weren't, okay. Now I am safe on the YouTube copyright, well not copyright, but censor. Unfortunately, I'm going to save this for myself here. Let's save it down here. And up here, just in case, and go through the door. Is there a boss in here? No, okay, so we go down to the next floor. Now, throughout the floor you will have these. There's ones for events, there's one for battle. The battle could be a boss battle or it could be something else. So right now we are going to have a little bit. You've been very quiet, Sari. Do I need to be talking all the time? No, not necessarily. I just find it unusual. She just gives a shrug. Perhaps I have been talking too much then. Adventures I have wandered with often berated me for being too loud. After all, you will not want to alert nearby monsters with idle chatter. Has that ever happened before? Sometimes. Well then. But that's not the way you would expect. We were discussing cuisine at the time. What? One of the party members actually knew how to cook, surprisingly. Interesting. So they are actually referring to a lot of traditional RPG stuff in terms of MMOs and everything else. She was rather adept at making a meal for monsters too. Really? Slightly unsettling. But you said no one was going to eat. Oh, interesting. If you ever try to cook me, I will put your face through a wall. So, yeah. I would not taste very good. Yeah. What kind of barbarian would cook? Yeah. I meant things like giant bats. Not really whatever you are. Animals not human-like. Oh, that's slightly better. Anyway, there was a hellhound nearby, intelligent enough to understand human speech. It understood that we had food, and knowing we couldn't defeat it, we had no choice but to feed it. So that is why it's better not to talk for too long. So as you can see, there is actually quite a bit of character development, and we get to learn a little bit of Siri's story. Now, I am wondering if there's going to be a different type of monster growing here. Oh, hold on. Well, this is different. She's not a monster. A woman wielding a spear steps in front of us. She has it fully extended. She's measuring her distance. Ah, I should not underestimate you. As one of the guards of this floor, I should... Wait, you're not a monster girl. What are you doing here? It is my sworn duty. A rank and file soldier. We could use one of those. Really? So we have a regular war person here? That is... I was not expecting that. Anyway, triple slash to get our health down. Ooh, very nice. You just do some slashing a bit. Oh, good, good, good. Some impact. Ooh, that's hurting a little bit. Now, let's see. We do not want to defeat her. We want to capture her. Oh, she's level 7. No, I can't capture her. That is not good. So, we are going to go back and load. So, anyway, yeah, this is literally Sakura Dungeon. You go through the dungeon, capture cute monster girls, and yeah, you can probably imagine the rest just by looking at the roster from the Sakura dev team and the rest of their games. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time for more whatever shows up on this channel. Small spoilers, it'll be Monster Hunter Online. So, down you go. Later.